Hey, AfterBuzzers, Chris Howard here. We're just about to break down The Profit, episodes 10 and 11. Stay tuned. We got a great episode for you coming up.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
There it is.
There's our song.
Kat was just saying we forgot the song.
We forgot the song, but we got the song. We got a good production team here at AfterBuzz.
Yeah, we couldn't forget the song. And we don't have Naina here with us today. We think she's stuck out in traffic on Burbank, and we may go to her as a, what do they call those, roving reporters?
As a roving reporter. Shout out to Naina. You're here with us in spirit.
Naina, if you can hear us, we love you. All right. So we're here breaking down episodes 10 and 11 of The Profit. These were really good episodes. I got to say who I am first, because I'm too excited. I'm getting carried away. Who the heck am I? I don't know. I'm Chris Howard here with AfterBuzz TV. You can reach out to me at Chris Howard Live. That's both on Twitter and Instagram now, although I'm just becoming acquainted with Instagram. Go easy on me. You can also find tips, motivation, that type of stuff at legendarylivingdaily.com and legendarylivingtv.com for YouTube. So the lovely
Katerina Cozias. Hello. I'm co-hosting with Chris today, and you can find me via Twitter and Instagram at Katerina Cozias. That's the tag for both. You can also find me via my website. It's called globalgab.com. That's global-gab.com, where I gab with you about international news.
See, I was making faces.
Gab, that's right. So I'm gabbing. I fill you in on what's happening globally. So do hit me up if you're interested in finding out what's going on in the world.
And you do know a lot about what's going on in the world, don't you?
Well, I've traveled the world quite a bit, so I like to think so.
Yeah, no, I heard you speaking, and we were in a class the other day, and you were like gabbing globally.
Gabbing globally. I was gabbing in Greek, in fact, and so yes.
So you know what's like current events and that type of thing are the things that you're in the know about?
Right, yeah. So I'm covering things, I mean, obviously things like the tragedy in Brussels the other day. Also things like, Obama was visiting Cuba.
Yes.
Just things that are happening that people should know about. So and I find it interesting. I hope other people do.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So here we're talking about Bentley's Corner Bakery. This was
episode 10.
Episode 10, yeah. I really liked both of these, 10 and 11. They stood out in my mind, and I think it seems to me, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, that they're batching the episodes, because weren't there a lot of similarities between 10 and 11? There was a
similar feel to both of these. Yes, absolutely.
It's like both were retail stores. So we start with a retail dog food outlet, a small chain that the couple had built up, and of course, I've got the names of the two partners here.
It was Lisa and Giovanni. Yes, part of Bentley's Corner Barkery, which I thought was a really cute name.
That is cute. It's like a bakery,
it's like
Barkery.
A dog show, Barkery, dog food.
Yeah. And the special aspect of the dog food is that they were looking for no additives, preservatives, all that type of thing. They wanted to go as close to organic food as possible. Right.
This is like a niche market pet store selling healthy organic pet food.
Right. With as Marcus pointed out as he came in, with owners who he described as being self-righteous. He used that term quite often because of their preferences in terms of what they would sell or what they would support.
Well, their preference and their almost closed-mindedness, right, to the point of wanting to stick so true to their values.
Yeah, almost. He probably wouldn't even say almost. He thought they were very closed-minded.
Right.
Yeah, because they didn't want to support any kind of dog food company that had any other products that went outside of their philosophy.
Right. The philosophy being we want to keep the food as healthy as possible for the animals.
And you can see how, like, a business owner that has that mission, how they might go out there doing that, but we also got to see how it was a problem for them in terms of their growth.
Well, it limited their ability to offer a product range, and primarily a product range that allowed for different price options.
Points. Right. And now how interesting was that? Because that for me, to be able to see, because essentially what was happening is they had dog food that they weren't making more than a 50% gross margin on.
Right.
I think it was 50. Yeah. So a 50% gross margin on, and they had, and the food they were selling only $70 bags of food.
Right. Although regular dog food, for those of you that may not have a dog, is priced between $20 and $80. So you go to somewhere like Costco.
Now they're never going to get a dog.
Buy a $20 bag. Right. Now they're never going to get it. Don't buy a dog.
Don't buy a dog.
Just kidding. But the interesting thing is the dog food industry, listen to this, the dog food industry is a $16 billion industry.
Wow.
So people are making money.
Yeah.
These guys, Lisa and Giovanni, wanted to make money but also offer a healthy product.
Right.
And Marcus came in and proved that you can do both.
Yeah, no, that was actually way to sum up the episode.
There you go.
There you go. We don't need to know anything more. Marcus did it. Turned around. Now, what was really fascinating for me is how he does do the breakdowns. He does it in his thinking when he walks into the store and immediately kind of drinks it in and sees that we're seeing similarities.
Right.
Like this store, all the stores are a mess, and he comes in and he makes them look fantastic.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it seems. Did you think? When I don't know if you got a sense of this, but when he remodeled the store, he brought in new signage and new displays and that type of thing. I know one of his previous companies, I don't know if you were on the episode that we broke down or that I broke down.
Which had to do with signage?
That had to do with signage.
No,
did you see that episode?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if he mapped across, because I know he's done it before, some of the teams from previous episodes.
It would be smart of him to have done that.
For sure.
Right? Use an existing business of his to supply product to another business.
Yeah.
I thought the signage, whoever did it, was really fantastic.
Yeah.
It looked like an inviting place to take your dog.
Yeah, it very well could have been one of the companies that he had worked with before, because I remember that episode.
Did it look similar?
The signage looked similar. Okay. He had brought them into his camping store, and he had brought them to work with Auto Match as well, another company that he worked with, I believe.
Okay.
But it would make sense for him to begin to cross-feed these various brands into one another and get some synergy and some economies of scale and make some profit on both sides.
Well, one of the things he said when he walked into the store at the beginning, and again, as you said, a common thread with a lot of these smaller businesses is they're not set up to prioritize the product. What he was able to come in, though, and see was the potential.
Right.
So he was direct quoted as saying, and I've written it down here, this place has an unbelievable potential to make money. So he saw through the chaos of what was the first look of the store, and was able to redesign, rebrand, and put them on a path to make a lot of money, which is great for all of them.
Right. And I'll tell you, I'm impressed by his ability to see through the fog, because on a lot of those, he's taken up deals where, as a consultant, because I do a lot of consulting and I've helped to grow a lot of businesses, but I wouldn't even, it's like,
I don't want
to. But he's gone in and he's been able to sort through and really kick some things into high gear. So to your point there, in terms of how they arranged the store, how fascinating was it to see in a retail outlet? I mean, if you're in retail, you probably know this. I haven't been in retail, but in a retail outlet, how they would look to chase the higher margins and have things, the higher margin products
right at the front.
Yes, geared in a certain way based on where were they going to get the gross margin.
Right, and which is very smart of him. And you see that in retail stores across the board. You go to somewhere like a pharmacy, and you're there to buy your products, but at the cash register, you're getting your gums and your Tic Tacs and all of your, products that cost 2 cents, but they charge you $1.20.
They make a lot.
Those are, hey, on the way out, don't forget to buy this high
Those
margin
are your dog
product.
toys and your dog chews.
Right, and that's exactly what they did.
Even if you don't have a dog, you want to buy those.
Right.
I gotta buy that. That's only $3.
And you know what they did in the episode is they called it the Shack Wagon.
Right.
And it was cute. It was fun. You wanted to go to this wagon to pick up all your products. So they're working the marketing.
Yeah, no, he turned around the entire floor, which he does in most retail outlets that he comes into, or most of the stores. He'll go for a new look and feel. So revamped that completely. And there's always a sense of flow.
Yes.
How's the customer flow and the process work when somebody comes in here? And what I really liked is just the optimization of the storefront.
Right.
Yeah.
And there were 7 stores that they had. Half of them were losing money.
That's real critical point.
Real critical point. So he was able to come in, centralize a lot of their systems, which was a big problem, which was one of the reasons the stores were losing money. There was no centralized inventory. There was no centralized management. He was able to come in, put that in place and revamp the look of these stores.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was interesting is, once again, I go back to both episodes. Episode 10 and 11, both of them had that same problem, that there wasn't a centralized location that was firing on all cylinders.
Right, and that they expanded too quickly.
Right.
Problem for both
going
both
into
companies.
acquisitions and going to look to have multiple locations without having the primary store working first, producing a profit, and then replicating what they had. So they were replicating a mediocrity,
right,
rather than replicating the excellence of having one that's up and turning. And I bet you a lot of small business owners do that.
Yes, absolutely.
In the rush to expand.
And this is why you need to do exactly what he said, which is pull the reins in, get organized, and then go ahead. What did you think of Lisa and Giovanni as business owners?
It was interesting to see that, to your point, because you had said earlier that they were so kind of hell-bent on their brand philosophy, yet they didn't know, they didn't have it in print like Marcus encouraged them to do and told them to do, was to put the brand philosophy in a way where it's written out so we know what it is and we can follow these guidelines as we're picking things.
And your employees know what it is and everyone gets on the same page.
Because they were just really quick to denounce anything that went against their philosophy that rested just in their heads.
Right. Philosophy being make sure that we only sell healthy products.
Healthy products for the dogs, but they didn't want to be associated even with anybody that had
an unhealthy option, and unhealthy again being their perception.
Right, exactly. And as proved by, case in point, you had the person that came in that wanted to have, what was it, a wheat product, or it was no wheat, I think they were looking for. They were looking for, it had to do with wheat, right? And the product was healthy from that person's perspective, but not healthy from their perspective, so it didn't fit their brand guidelines. And Marcus made a great point when he said, if you had a store that was they wanted to give you a line of healthy food because they wanted to move in the direction of making it healthier, would you accept it or not? And she said no.
She was very, very hard lined, but I think when he got them on his private jet and flew them to Pennsylvania to take a look at the manufacturing company, I think it was the network.
Yeah, we'd like to think it was. Yeah.
It may be his, but I suspect the network was footing the bill for that one.
They were behind it.
But he took them to Pennsylvania to take a look at what their competitors, not competitors, I'm sorry, what one of the suppliers was doing in terms of manufacturing.
Right, to let them see behind the scenes and let them peek underneath the curtain, right?
And what they found underneath that curtain was, hey, these guys are taking the steps to really move in the direction that you feel you're already in.
Right.
So would you not welcome their efforts?
And they were shutting it out previously.
Right,
so they were
completely.
Totally
they just
closed
weren't
off.
even open to any of it.
They wouldn't look at it. They didn't want to hear the name. And Marcus made the point. He said, you guys are judging them before you even know anything about them. Let's get in there. And then you saw how inspired they were when they came out, because this is a serious manufacturer that was doing things the right way.
And doing things really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, and that is inspiring. When you see somebody, when you get behind the scenes of somebody that's 10 paces ahead of where you are,
absolutely.
You may shut that down, and that's like, it's kind of like people looking up to rich people and go, oh, they're just rich. They were just born into it, or they were
without seeing the 20-hour days that they're putting in to attain that. One of the takeaways for me on that point was exactly that. To grow your business, you need to be open-minded.
Absolutely.
That was a takeaway for me.
So so here's the takeaway pearls of wisdom from Katerina is you've got to be
open-minded, be willing to listen, and be willing to observe, and be willing to bend.
Yeah.
And I think anyone that isn't willing to bend, especially in this world of high-flying, high-moving, quick-moving technology, you're going to be left behind.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
However good your intentions are.
Yeah, I was thinking today, I was looking at, some of these business opportunities. I was reading something on some platform someplace. Okay. Just to be specific.
It's good to know you read.
Yeah, I was reading something. I was reading some of the stuff that I had. It's like, wow, how do you find surefire winners in terms of business when technology and things are changing so
rapidly,
fast? And it's like, okay, you could go into this field, but then there could be two guys in a garage that are going to make that obsolete in 3 months.
6 months, right?
Yeah, 6 months.
Right.
Yeah, it's like so it is a rapidly changing world. I mean, that's why I love Warren Buffett's philosophy of you get, he invests in Gillette because there's not that many changes that are happening in razors. People got to shave. Hopefully, so something simple.
And I think that again speaks to the point where if you are in business, you really, especially in this day and age, have to make sure each button is buttoned up. Each piece of your business is working as optimally as it can.
I was thinking of clothing because our next...
and that'll move us into episode 11.
Yeah, so each button is buttoned up. But what do you mean by that?
What I mean is you want to look at your entire vertical and, everything from buying to inventory to supply chains to marketing.
Right.
Everything should be trying to hit the 90 percentile of your competitors and of your industry to ensure that you stay in that higher percentile.
Marcus said that to staying in the highest percentile. He talked to that when he said this is what market research is for.
Right.
We need to, and that's kind of a sneak preview of the next episode. But he said we need to have the research in order to know that we're hitting the market in the right place and that we're hitting targets that we should be hitting. Because if you don't know what the profit margin should be, what the gross margin should be on the dog food, and I suspect that he was aiming toward the 70% range and wanted to get up higher, and so hence the target that he needed to put in place was the higher margins, which they just weren't able to tap into, and they weren't even focusing on it. They didn't think about it.
Well, that was a mistake.
Exactly.
How do you go into business and not identify your highest earning product?
Right.
And not,
which was what? It was like the chewy.
For them, it was the easy stuff. It wasn't even the food. It was the dog bones and some of the toys.
And the toys.
Right.
Had the highest margin.
Which again are great products because they don't expire. They're not food based.
Right.
And so you can buy a ton of them, leave them on the shelves versus the food-based products that do have an expiry date.
Right. So how do you, when you have a pet store like that, or a pet store, what did you call it, a pet food store?
Pet food store.
Yeah,
sure,
pet food store.
A Barkery.
Barkery. Yes, it is a Barkery. It's like a bakery, but a Barkery is for dogs. But if you have a store like that then for him coming in and knowing what the margin should be, knowing what the target should be, he's able to optimize it with the toys up front and having things move in that manner. So that takes a lot of background knowledge. It takes a lot of wisdom that can only come from being in the field or getting that market research done or studying what the competitors are doing.
Right. And I mean, to take it to, again, between both of these small businesses, the second business being the jeans
Are we
bar.
ready to map across? It's 4 o'clock. It's looking, that's the wrong time.
Not yet. Well, we'll stick on this. But my point was that, one of the issues was also that they weren't quite sure who their demographic was.
Yeah. I saw that.
You're in business. You don't know who your demographic is. Who are you selling to? Who are you buying for? These are things that are very important in business.
But you'd look at it as being basic things, but I can understand how she could make that mistake where she gets an idea of, our target market is this person, this consumer, this end user.
Right.
And then she rolls out nationwide and goes into a neighborhood where that consumer doesn't live. So she made the mistake in positioning the store in the wrong place for Chicago for that one. We'll get
into that episode afterwards. I'm skipping along.
But it's okay. It's because there are so many similarities between the two episodes, and this whole and both of them are retail businesses. Both of them were missing the centralized hub, as you pointed out. And if you don't have that first one going well, then we're spreading mediocrity. So we go right back to that. That'll be my jewel.
Okay, your takeaway.
Yeah, my takeaway is if you don't have your primary entity working yet, why would you ever expand? So if you spread that, you're spreading mediocrity. We got to spread something that's working.
But do you fault people for being excited?
Not at all.
They're clearly excited about their business and their business idea and their business product.
And they need to be. It's good.
They need to be, but they need to be doing it a little smarter.
Yeah, they need to temper the excitement because if not, also it could be false excitement that just burns them out and takes them to no place. They need to go the distance. And
the thing that I like is the thing that I always try to do when I look at people and life in general is to look at the intention behind the action.
Right.
So the intention for Lisa and Giovanni was to create a high-end healthy food pet store.
Yes.
The intention for Marcus is to go in and help them both financially but also emotionally for their family. They had a young son, their son Sebastian.
Right.
So this is a young family starting out.
Adopted.
They had a great business idea.
I think they got him when he was 5 days old.
5 days old, they adopted him.
Really cute.
And they really seemed to me as though they were trying their best.
Yes. to do something good. And you get, and we were having this conversation before that we really get the sense that Marcus is that kind of a person too, where he's doing his best to help these people in this situation. And it's wild to see how many times he ends up doing couples therapy, although he's not a therapist. He's a mechanic for the business, but he ends up having to have those conversations with them because it's oftentimes people issues that are in the way. And in terms of, so it'd be interesting to look at this in terms of the people issues, because he talks about people, process, and product. In terms of the people, what
management is always a key issue.
How about in this first episode? What did you see
in
terms
this first
of people
issue?
Issues?
Okay, so in this first issue, they had this partner David that had 30% of the business. We haven't mentioned David yet. So we have Lisa and Giovanni. They're married.
Yes.
They're the business owners. They had a partner David who came in at 30%. David, to me, other than financing the business, was a non-entity, right?
Yeah,
he was sort of behind the scenes.
Silent partner,
for me.
right? Threw some money in.
Giovanni was the one who was supposed to be managing the operations.
Right.
Giovanni was the weakest link in all of this for me.
Why do you say
Lisa brought in the creativity of the idea. She brought in her value system. She really did intend to offer the right product in her store. Giovanni was tasked with managing and being the liaison between the various branches, and he, as we saw clearly,
as liaison, he wasn't doing.
I mean, he just dropped the ball. There was no central management. He had no managerial skills whatsoever, and we saw that in the boardroom scene when Marcus grouped all of these store managers together to say, hey, we need to have a meeting to let you know how we're progressing.
Now, in terms
he didn't even know how to manage a meeting.
Right. In terms of that and managing the meeting and all that, do you think that was an issue of him not having the skills, or do you think it was an issue of him just being so keen to expand that he didn't, like poor role definition?
Yes. Although that trickled down and allowed for poor role definition in the various stores. Yeah. And so if you don't have the right leadership at the top, you're going to have some kinks in the road.
Right, because he, as the episode progressed, he proved that he could run meetings and he proved that he could manage to some degree.
Right.
Because we saw that happening. Are you shifting around for...
No, I'm just getting comfortable.
Did they tell you to move?
I'm
getting
look better?
Getting comfortable. But as the... As the episode progressed, he did prove that he had the ability to lead, so maybe it was just a structural issue, which is seeming to oftentimes prove to be the case as well in terms of the role definition.
He definitely showed that he stepped up, that he was ready to step and willing to step up, and I think he will do a better job. I think this is a classic case of no one ever taught the poor guy.
Right.
He just didn't know.
Yeah.
And this is why, a lot of people, and the advice given to younger people is, hey, slow down. You just got out of school. Take a year or two, go work for a big company.
I thought you were going to say go to the Caribbean.
No, go to the Caribbean. Go to India, do some yoga. But
then go to work for a big company.
Go work for a big company. Get a feel for how systems are put into place. Take that knowledge and then go start your own business, rather than starting from scratch, not knowing anything about business operations.
Right.
I mean, that's something that they say.
Business operations. How do you learn those unless you're in the mix?
Right.
For me, you can learn it.
And so,
from
do you
a book.
fault Giovanni? No, not really.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's out there. At least he's out there getting it done. Right. He's doing the deal.
Right.
Where so many people don't even start.
Right. So you got to give it up to them. I like this this episode. I like this business model. And if I had a dog, I would go to the Barkery.
Barkery. I have their website. It's getbentleys.com. So they named it was named after their dog.
Yeah.
So getbentleys.com. You can go and get your dog food there, and we can support the Team Marcus. So hashtag Team Marcus.
Yeah.
That's
hashtag Team Marcus.
All right. So we move from the corner Barkery into. Oh, by the way, let's just talk just before we move. Let's just mention the deal structure. So,
yes.
Yeah, because originally, because it was a little bit more complex than he does on some of his deals. So he came in at what, 1.7 million?
1.7, which was split into two deals: 400,000 for 25% of the business, and 1.3 million to finance an acquisition.
Right.
But for that 1.3 million, his equity piece would be taken to 40%. They would have the option over time to pay back the 1.3,
leaving him at 4.
Leaving him at 400,000, reducing his equity back to 25%. And so they would have the benefit of the acquisition money, but not giving up a lot of their equity over time.
Right.
Which I thought it was a phenomenal deal for them.
That is pretty phenomenal, because he's not asking for control for the rest of the universe.
Right.
He's asking for... I don't know if he remains with control
operating
of the company.
Control. I think that was for period of time to get them organized.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants 100% operating control.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I think
then
he's
you
a busy guy.
Yeah, you got the problems that you got to deal with
guy,
too.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but the going down to 25%, that's less than the other partner who was at 30.
Right.
And that's less than that leaves them in control of their entity.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really nice deal for him to come in and finance an acquisition that he wasn't in favor for in the beginning.
Yeah, well, he was a little nervous at one point.
Yeah.
He was a little nervous, but again, Giovanni stepped up, proved that he was willing to learn and to grow and to help grow the business. And I think that placated him a little bit. And he said, okay, let's do the deal.
Absolutely. I do have some updates from the... I pulled these offline, and everything that's online is true. That's
always.
No, Trump said that. He said, "All I know is what's online." So, so let's. It says here. Where's my update?
Okay.
Conclusion update. So it says they allowed Marcus to have total control. They're happy with the results. Giovanni steps up and his dream. Let's see. They have more. Yeah, actually, those updates aren't so big.
Okay.
Well, the one thing that Marcus had said was, I wouldn't be surprised if they had 100 locations across the nation. He said, don't tell Giovanni that, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happened in short order.
You know, and it's a very interesting business model. This is a boutique dog food store.
Right.
And there are a lot of people that really want to treat their dogs well. And there are a lot of people that don't want to just go to the neighborhood grocery store to buy their dog food. I think it's a great business.
Yeah.
I think they were missing a lot of the market because of the limitation of product they were offering.
Now, if you could,
but he tackled that for them as well.
Yeah, if you could get it down to three things that were the difference that made a difference in terms of what he did, what would you say they were?
I would say he revamped their management model.
Yep.
I would say he also centralized the inventory so that you weren't seeing these warehouses and basements full of inventory. They had the one centralized place that was going to start shipping it out.
Right.
And number 3 was definitely revamping the store look.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that was the turning point for me.
Absolutely.
It was so inviting.
I would say for me, if I were to say it was so inviting, yeah. So I'm going to invite myself to give 3 things. So my 3 things I would say is that offering lower cost products. So offering
product diversity.
Yeah, product diversity.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that they were able to get more of the market and things at a higher gross.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say that the store look, absolutely, the brand impact when people were coming in, and the optimization of the stores as well. So when people came through, they'd be able to buy the right things and whatnot. So that's 6 things that we can take home. 6 super learnings, which if you take them will make your business extraordinary.
Take these points, write these things down, and
especially
apply them.
Especially if you're selling dog food.
Right.
Right. All right. Now, actually, they apply to any industry. We know that. They apply to any business. Yeah. These are important. Yeah. Now, speaking of important, it's important that we move on to episode 11.
The Blue Jeans Bar.
Yeah. What'd you think of this?
I thought the concept was phenomenal. I actually really liked it because of the fact that...
Because you're a barfly.
I like jeans, and I like bars, and I like jazz.
Oh, you sound just like the woman who launched it.
I should have opened a Blues Jeans Bar.
Now, is there supposed to be an S on the end of blue?
Yes, Blues.
So it's Blues.
Jean Bar.
Because she's from New Orleans.
She's from New Orleans, and she wanted to stay true to her blues, and she wanted to open a boutique.
You can't even say it, though.
No, you can't. Well, you can. It's a tongue twister.
It is
Try that 3 times
Blues Jeans Bar. Yeah, if you do that, if anybody can do that, let us know.
Blues Jean Bar. I can't do it.
Yeah, Blues Jeans Bar. I can't do it. If you can say Blues Jeans Bar 10 times fast, let us know.
Let us know.
And do, by the way, once again, hit us up on Twitter.
Hashtag tongue twister.
Tongue twister. Hashtag tongue twister. You can find me at Chris Howard Live. What's your Twitter one more time?
At Katerina Cozias.
At Katerina Cozias.
Either one of us.
Yeah, so reach out to us. Say hello. Tell us what you thought about the past episode. Tell us if you can say Blues Jeans Bar 10 times fast. You'll win our love and appreciation for being along for the ride.
Right.
And for watching these episodes.
So,
and tell your friends about these episodes too, because I'll tell you what, we were just talking before the show, and we were looking at the viewership of The Profit. It's a great show.
I love it. I think it's a great show.
It's my favorite reality-based show on TV.
Because you learn something, right? There's something being offered.
And it's just before Shark Tank, so you'd think that they get more of the Shark Tank crowd, but I think that I haven't seen that jump come from Shark Tank to the Profit,
The viewership
even though
is
it's
a little
amazing.
low. So tell your friends about this show, because we're fans.
Spread the word.
We're buzzing about it.
We're buzzing.
We're buzzing about it.
After
but to recap the show, she being Lady was the lady owner. She opened this Blues Jean bar with the intent of having a boutique.
You didn't say it right.
Blues Jean bar.
Okay, yeah.
With the intent of opening up this boutique to offer jeans in a funky way where there was a jeans tender.
Right.
Like a bartender.
There's
a bar. There was a jeans tender with an inventory
Did you
full
make
of
that
jeans.
Up, or did she call that?
No, they did say it's a jeans tender.
I missed that.
I thought it was great. And you could walk up to the bar, tell them what size you needed, what style you liked, and the jeans tender would help you out.
Now, it was a little weird, though, because they'd help you out, but they said that you can't touch the jeans until the jeans tender gave you the jeans.
Right.
What did you think about that?
I thought that was very limiting. I go shopping and I want to feel the fabric. I want to touch the fabric. I want to stretch the fabric. I thought that was a little limiting.
Limiting. Yeah. I got the concept of it's done for you. You don't have to do anything except tell them exactly what you want, and we're going to find it, pick it, and bring it.
And in theory, this was a great idea.
In theory.
But they had the same issue as the Bentley's Barkery, in that they expanded too quickly.
Yes.
So they expanded to 13 stores, started going into the red.
Right.
Because of that, they started cutting back on inventory. So you, the customer, would walk into the jeans bar,
and
ask for your size, and you wouldn't get a size. Well, guess what? You're never coming back.
Right.
So they ran into this expansion problem as well.
And they had a lot of unused inventory behind the scenes, just as the dog food store did. All this money basically sitting in the warehouse that was
the basement
premises.
Right.
Yeah. So all this money that was sitting there in the form of inventory that wasn't capital that they could use for the things that they needed. Yeah. And an example, once again, as you mentioned, of it expanding too fast before the core entity was ready. And I think that there was a problem in the core premise of this business, which was the moment Marcus walks in, he sees it, and I saw it, I look at it and I go, why would you put a barrier between
you and the product,
right,
or you and the customer,
and you and the customer, both.
Right.
It's like sitting behind a lectern in a university, or just this big barrier between your
come and learn, but
capacity
you can't talk to me.
Right, exactly. Instead of being up and up front with people, and so,
and they had the same issues as the last group, and like to your point that they may be grouping these episodes with a common theme. The management
it'd be
was
easier
weak.
for Marcus,
right? Yeah. Management was weak. The margins, they were pushing the wrong margin products.
Right.
Again,
so there wasn't enough margin on the product lines that they were making the big extension with.
Right. And so what you saw was she expanded from 13 stores down to 3. And even once she expanded to those 3 stores, she contracted from her expansion to 13 down to 3. But even those 3 she couldn't manage.
Right.
And so he just had to come in and help her out.
And say, okay, how do we turn this thing around?
Yeah, how did he turn around? What do you think he did for them?
I mean, it's the same type of thing. If he brings the jeans out front, and if he lets people, so I think in both of these episodes we had the issue of the business owner clinging to a concept.
Being the inflexibility.
And with inflexibility, clinging to their great idea that they had, that they, and so it was them championing this great idea rather than giving the public what they want, rather than giving the consumer what they want. So not enough market research, not enough understanding of the end user, not enough, and we saw that in this episode. You had mentioned it earlier, where they put for the Chicago store, which did Chicago become the hub afterwards?
I believe San Francisco was the main.
Was the main store.
San Francisco, Chicago, and Dallas were the 3 stores remaining.
Right, and where she got this storefront in Chicago, it didn't match with the end user that she had in her mind, with the avatar that she imagined was the perfect purchaser of these clothes. So they had 70% of the clothing that was on the racks was useless.
Well, what happened was, when he asked her, who do you see your buyer as being, she said sort of a soccer mom, 40s, and yet the store in San Francisco was in an area
where
that was
that
full
made
of 25-year-old
sense.
yuppies.
No,
where it didn't.
make sense.
Where it didn't make sense. And even
What
the
about
store
Chicago?
manager, Chicago, I think, made a little bit more sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's. I think you got them there.
Yeah, I'm confused.
You're confused,
Yeah.
but you need to know who your market is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And see, the problem I have with that is if you go to change who they're going to put clothing in the store for based upon a poor choice of where the store was set up.
Okay.
Now you've split your entire focus.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of Tasha, her store manager, VP, woman number 2?
She didn't seem to really be managing it, but it kind of flowed from the top down, right? Because Lady didn't seem to be
managing it either.
On top of anything.
When you get to a store and you ask when was the last time you saw your manager, and they tell you 6 years ago, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Then you wonder why your business is failing. Well,
right. And once again, that comes down to, and in the previous episode, Marcus had got them AT&T Connect. It sounded like a little product plug for AT&T there. Yeah, a little cross marketing, because it could have been Google Hangouts, but it was AT&T Connect. So bless
for
them
those of
because
you,
we're supporting it. Yeah, I didn't know AT&T Connect had the capacity to do the same thing that.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah, so you got to see all the people in the meeting, and when you look at these clothing stores, if we're going to replicate the excellence of the hub, and they're all going to fall in the same brand as brand extensions of that hub, having the regular meetings and things like that are critical, so you don't go 6 years without seeing your manager. Instead, you have the meetings that can be done now with today's technologies via Skype, and they don't have to leave their own store.
Yeah.
So what else did you notice about this episode here? Anything that really stood out to you?
I'm wondering, what did you think? For me, I mean, what stood out was the fact that he, again, worked on her psychology.
Yeah.
In that he made her realize by the end of the episode that you've got to let your addiction to this idea that you have of your store.
Idea addiction, hashtag.
Right. Move that aside. And be open-minded to what else might be done. So he even went so far as to change the name of the store, which I haven't
was beautiful.
seen. Right, which became Jeans and Soul.
Denim and Soul.
Denim and Soul.
Denim and Soul. Yeah.
Denim and Soul.
Yeah.
To stay true to her vision of having the soul, the whole New Orleans thing.
Yeah.
Photos of her grandmother and her mother and whatnot.
That's because he thinks of that.
Because he likes to stay true to her vision. He doesn't want to just railroad her.
So he gets the brand personality and the essence of what she was attempting to do before, but what wasn't even able to be said phonetically
before. Well, again, if you can say it 10 times fast, let us know.
Then you win. We're not going to tell you what you win yet.
We're going to give you a prize.
Yeah, we're going to give you a prize. If you can say it 10 times fast, I can't even say 10 times fast, 10 times fast.
Right.
But
for me, I mean, I really liked what he did with the look of the store.
Yeah.
I thought it looked like a chic boutique. I would go shop there for my jeans.
Absolutely.
And I thought even the little they showed us of the products and the products she carried, I could see an elevation in the styling.
And the styling,
I really could.
and
I would go,
higher margin product once
Right.
again that was being pushed.
They identified that it was the T-shirts and the that sort of product that was a higher margin. So let's bring in more of that. The jeans, not so much. Let's bring that down percentage-wise in terms of the overall.
And it can still be there. It's still the part of the essence, but not necessarily what's going to
drive the entire market.
Yeah, because the margins are lower. And I think both of these both of these episodes give us lessons in the whole concept of gross margin, which is just the hard cost of making the sale before you add on the salaries and all of that type of stuff. So knowing what the gross margins are, we can have targets within the business entity. This is what I really took from both, is that knowing what those gross margins are, and what we see in other episodes as well, we can have targets, and then we can manage the rest of the monies in relationship to those gross margins, so that it gives us another level of depth. You know what your end goal is. You know what you're striving for and towards, right?
And you can then analyze it.
Yeah.
You can't analyze your business if you don't know what it is you're trying to
achieve,
in terms
or what are the norms,
in terms
or what
of,
are
your targets.
Yes, my ex-business partner used to say that if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
Sure, but at what cost?
Yeah, exactly. But if you don't know what actually, I don't even know if I like that saying, because it's like, okay, well, if you get there, who cares?
Right.
But
well, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the gross margin is, once you have that as a target, and then it gives you, it's like the dashboard on your car. You've got the little things that tell you, am I on track or am I off track? Yeah, and so it gives us
important.
A good way to manage it. And we saw that in the previous episode, in episode 10. He said that, how have you been managing all of this? When do you get your cash flows done for you? Do you have the projections and all of that? And the guy said, well, no, I'm just managing it based on what's in the bank account off the checkbook.
You can't manage a business on cash flow.
No, and I've done it before, so I know. You can't.
You learned this lesson already.
Well, I continue to learn things in different layers and different levels. But so those projections become mission critical, and having the gauges and knowing what's where. So knowing what those gross margins should be in terms of a target is mission critical. Let's see, what else did you pick up in this one? He also worked with Courage B. I don't know which was another one of his stores to come in and help with the continuation, with the look and feel of this.
So back to your point earlier, I think when he gets the opportunity to work with the various businesses and integrate them, I wouldn't say integrate, but cross-connect is a good word. Then he does so.
I just made that up.
I like it. A trademark. Somebody trademark.
Trademark. Hashtag trademark. That's like trending now. It's hashtag trademark. Yeah.
That's right. But a takeaway for me from this show was learn to trust the process.
Right.
She was very nervous about him coming in and changing things up, and I think she was very pleasantly surprised with what she saw at the end of it. And I'm glad for her, because you could see and feel her soul in this business.
Absolutely. Denim and soul. Right. And that's, this is something that we get to see over and over again, too, is that in the end, he does pull through for the business owners. And in most every case that I've seen, at least the ones they were willing to televise, I've seen that. The business owners are very pleasantly surprised with what he brings to the mix. Because you bring a business owner to one distribution network, like he does all the time. He'll let them go peek behind the scenes at these distribution networks, or to the vendors, like in the dog food in episode 10. When you bring these guys behind the scenes, and they all of a sudden go, wow, we could be playing at this level if we got out of our own way, clinging to the idea of what we think would work because we made it up and it's our brainchild. It got us so far, but if we're going to go the distance, we could adopt some of these best practices.
And I think one thing he shows as a best practice is centralization, the importance of centralization.
Absolutely.
Whether it's with a manufacturing facility, whether it's with inventory, you want one central facility that is going to help manage your flow, rather than 13 or 7 or 3 little stores doing their own thing, because things can get very quickly out of control.
Yeah, so you got the centralized hub. That's definitely a common theme.
Yeah.
So we got the centralized hub that is not only the distribution network for the other extensions, the extensions of the business, but also the brand extender.
Right.
Yeah, so the brand flows from that, and that there's brand consistency across all platforms. Did we say that right?
Yes. I think it sounds good to me.
So he brought in new products, helped to clear out the basement. Oh, this is another thing they did in this clothing episode, was he was able to take everything that was in storage, we'll call it, back, and he was able to liquidate
it. Yes, he liquidated it. He was savvy enough to realize that this product had been sitting there for a very long time.
And was going to continue to sit there.
And it's just going to sit there and collect dust. So let's get rid of it. I think for one of the companies, I think for the jeans, they ended up making about $30,000.
It was about $15,000, I believe. It could have been, 15 grand.
15,000, which again is better than having that sit on a floor.
And if he could, his thought was if he could reinvest that 15,000 and then go get some more inventory and then sell it, he could make 50,000. And so really going through the numbers and thinking it through, because having products and services that nobody can buy does nobody any good. And they found that 70% of the clothing on the floor could not even be used and would not be bought. So making it lean, identifying, and so I think one of the big points, I'll say my 3.
What are your 3? Okay.
My 3 from this episode was correctly identifying the end user, the target market.
Yes.
There was a lack of that.
Right.
So identifying who's really going to be purchasing the clothing. I don't even know how you run a business without that.
Yeah.
Number 2 is having the roles and responsibilities clearly defined.
Yes.
Once again, we're seeing that over and over again. Number 3 would be, I would say, maximizing the profit, the gross margin, and making it. I'm going to sneak in a fourth. Making it easy for people to get in and actually buy the clothing rather than putting barriers.
Well, making it a pleasant buying experience.
Right.
Because I think you have one chance to retain the customer. If a customer walks in your store and they don't like the look and they don't like the product and they don't like the service, you're going to have a heck of a tough time getting them back in.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to hit all those points, make it a pleasant and actually an extraordinary buying experience. Yeah. And that is going to be
these your points?
Is fueling. No.
Oh, well, I want to hear your points.
So
Speaking
my points
of fuel.
are, I'm going to make 2 points since you took 4.
Oh.
So my 2 points, my big ones are, again, the centralization.
Right.
Because I think it's very important for the operations process.
Yes.
And number 2, what I took away from this was the fact that Marcus himself, does a very good job with allowing the business owner to retain their creativity.
So creativity
because it's the creativity that allowed for these businesses to start up in the first place.
It just needs to be channeled in the right way.
It needs to be channeled, and so he allowed them to do that without crushing their spirit.
Right.
He's very inclusive, and he helps to keep them lifted, which I like about Marcus.
Now, speaking of lifting, do you think these businesses would have ever lifted to the level that they have if he didn't come in?
I think they both would have been in a lot of trouble, and I personally would have probably bet my money on the fact that in 2 or 3 years they would have been gone. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they were in desperate straits, both of them.
Which speaks to the necessity of mentors and guides along the way. People to help us see things clearly and that have the business experience.
Yeah. And well, Jeff Bezos, who is the founder of Amazon, they said that he read every single book Sam Walton ever wrote.
Smart. Sam Walton,
the founder of Walmart, right?
The largest fortune in the world today if it wasn't split up amongst the family members.
$170 billion. Yeah. If he hadn't split it up into the trusts and whatnot.
Right.
So he was smart enough to say, hey, who is the best retailer out there, period? He took whatever he could from him. Sam Walton having passed away before Jeff was even going, he took as much as he could and said, I want to do exactly this in the digital market. Boom, Amazon. To your point about mentors, right?
Yeah.
You must look at who is doing what I'm doing, who is doing it the best, and how can I take that
how can we
and work it into my model?
Work it into my model. And Sam Walton worked for JCPenney before he said, I never had an original idea in my life. I spend more time in my competitor stores than I spend in my own.
He does.
So he did.
Right.
He does.
Right,
he still does in spirit. Yeah, the spirit of Sam lives on.
He's in, he's hanging out at Macy's now.
At Macy's.
What's Macy's up to?
So as we look at both of these episodes, and I'd led us down this path before, but I didn't complete the thought.
Okay.
So when we look at what Marcus looks for, we talked about the people issues, and we saw that in both of these episodes where there were people issues in terms of the clearly defined roles in the organizations.
Right.
Right.
Well, in the jeans episode, it was too much management.
Too much.
I mean, they had a very intricate organizational chart.
Right.
6 levels of management for 3 little stores. I mean, he wiped that out. He split that in half. Owner, 3 store managers, staff, period.
Right.
Right.
So making it lean but functional.
Lean but functional, exactly.
Yeah. So clearly defined roles, lean but functional. And we also saw the people issues as being those that were clinging to ideas or concepts and missing the forest for the trees. Yeah. That was pretty sharp.
I like it.
How about process problems in both of these issues? What did you see as being the big process problems in both of these?
Definitely the lack of ability to buy the right product. Inventory over having too much inventory because of the fact that you didn't know who you were buying for. And unless you can identify who you're buying for, you can risk buying the wrong product, which is what they did.
Right.
And you have literally cash sitting idle.
Right. So if we don't know who the end user is,
how do you provide the product for him? Right.
Yeah. Then any kind of process that you put in place is going to be useless.
Right.
Right.
So I think his identifying who is your demographic, who is your client, your customer, identify that, be clear on who that is, and then build your business around that person.
Right, and we wouldn't, because of the mistake that was made by Lady in terms of purchasing, in terms of locating this, the Chicago location in a place where that consumer didn't live.
Right.
Or was it San Francisco? You told me I'm confused. One of those.
I thought it was San Francisco, but
we all
could
get
be
the
wrong.
point. Yeah, San Francisco goes both ways, though, so it could be. Sure. She's not even listening to me. But in any case, the knowing who that end consumer is, and then making our decisions, every decision, even to location, based on who that person is, it keeps us in the flow, and then putting in place a great process for liquidating the inventory, or not liquidating, that's the wrong word, but
moving it.
Right. Yeah, moving the inventory all the way from the hub through the extensions.
Right.
Yeah. And then how about the issues in terms of product issues and thematic product issues in these two episodes?
I think he was able to identify the product issues pretty quickly.
Right.
He made the owners aware of it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What we saw in episode 10 was the fact that Lisa was very adverse to hearing about product issues.
Right.
She just didn't want any of that.
That's the whole falling in love with your product
right.
type.
Yeah. But again, he got through to her, and I believe that she is going to be a much more malleable with respect to what she's going to be offering in her stores.
Yeah, her eyes began to open, I think.
Yeah, I think she realized that,
and,
wait a minute,
yeah.
Maybe I was a little too close-minded, so.
Right, yeah, I saw that. And what really stood out to me, once again, with these two episodes in particular, for some reason, is the thematic linkage of the margin. So making sure that the product that we're moving is product that is highest margin, and he's said this before in other episodes, it just kind of stood out even more, that it's the highest margin product that we're moving into the line, and if it's not, that we find ways to either extend the brand into other types of products and services.
Well, and for me, that's the core value of being in business. You're in business to make money.
A profit.
If you don't want to make money, then call it a hobby.
Right.
And go do it on your weekend. But if you're calling it your business and this is your job,
charity,
this is your
go open
go open a charity. But the point of opening a business is to make your money, right?
Yeah.
W-2
K1, K9.
Yeah, right. But so if that is your focus, do it to the best of your ability. Make sure that you're pushing product that is going to make you the highest return. Right. What is your return on investment? Period.
Critical to know.
Yeah.
All right. And I think that that's such a beautiful place to end it, because you wrapped up the profit. So, Katerina, let everybody know where they can find you.
All right. Well, we thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Yes,
we enjoy being here. We hope you enjoy buzzing with us.
It's very profitable for us.
That's right. You can reach out to me anytime during the week at Katerina Cozias. That's at Katerina Cozias, both on Twitter and Instagram.
Don't reach out to her on a weekend. That's.
I'm going to be dealing with my charity and my hobbies on the weekend. You can also hit me up via Global Gab, my website.
And she does like to gab. Just kidding, playing. And you can find me at Chris Howard Live on both Twitter and Instagram. I'm getting there more often now, as well as LegendaryLivingDaily.com for tips and motivation, different types of things, and LegendaryLivingTV.com for my YouTube channel. We'll see you there. We'll see you here. We'll see you next week for The Profit. Tell all your friends, spread the word, and over and out from AfterBuzz.
Take care.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
No, it's probably for him too.
The views expressed herein are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.